Stand up. Put your hands above your head. Wiggle them around, flap your arms, as Chris would say. Okay, you can sit down. That's an elementary school trick so that you might stay awake a little bit longer because it's warm in here, right? Mississippi, Alabama, we might have you beat in here tonight, right? But that doesn't matter. It might be because of those first two speakers, and they turn the heat up. Absolutely. So what are we going to finish with? Well, if you're going to name this talk, we name this talk "No More Muddy Water." We've got a lot. There's been a lot of PDCAing going on in life leadership. A lot of great things. And if I said words like videos and closers and text contacting and showing the plan using a video, all of these types of things have been kind of out there. And we've made a transition. And it's a transition that if you're brand new here, brand new out there, let me pause just for a second. It's super exciting to know we have this many people in here, but we have more people across the United States tying in on Zoom. That's just fires me up. So our job, what we want to do tonight is I want to clear the water. I want to walk out of here, whether you're brand new or whether you're me, and we go out and we attack this for the next 30 days. And we make a quick pit stop in Moline. Right? It's kind of like that Hot Wheel thing where the car goes around and then you kind of get spit out and it goes again. Well, Moline, we're going to kind of cruise in there and then it's going to spit us out. And we're going to use the information tonight that we learn to get after it. And I can tell you this, I've spent a lot of time with Lauren the last couple days, and I'm super excited about some of the stuff that is going to just enhance what we already do. How many of you were on the call last night? Oh, that was weak. That was really weak. There we go. I don't care how hot it is in here. Class participation. So that call last night, I got off of that call, and then there was a cab leader call, which I invite all of you to qualify for. And it was, I don't like calls that late at night, to be honest with you. I'd like them less if I was working, which means you probably like them less. Is anybody having a hard time sleeping at all? Like, I lay there and all these things are going through my head after this, right? That's why one of the reasons I like driving long distances, I know we have some people in here that got in their cars and got out here from distances away, is that at least you get an hour on the ride home to unwind after tonight, right? Because that helps you make sure you sleep a little bit better. Absolutely. So we're pumped about what we're about to share. We're pumped to. I listened to Chris and Kristen. I know I'm biased. They're our best friends and we love them dearly, but he's just getting better and better and better and better. And I know my big friend back there, he doesn't like the heat doesn't mix well with him, but man, he was crystal clear and just funny and just absolutely rocked it out. And then I listened to Mike and Tanya, and by the time Mike and Tanya were done, I was like, I didn't buy a ticket to that thing, but I think I'm going. No, I'm seriously, about halfway through with the whole Camaro thing, I was like, where is he going with this? Right? And you know who else I do that all the time with? Terry Brady. And he did just as good of a job of coming back around and nailing it. Absolutely. And to hear Tanya's analogy on a concert, it was fantastic. So it's been great, and we're going to try to put the cherry on top.
Absolutely. I felt like we didn't need to share, except I really want to share tonight. I really want Mark to share with you. I loved, Chris alluded to it, we did go camping. How many of you went camping with us? It was so much fun. We had a great time, and we sat around the campfire, and Kristen talked about business. And Chris was right. It was such a fantastic point that, when we look at McDonald's today, what is McDonald's doing? They're adjusting to the market. They're adding coffee. They're adding smoothies. They're doing breakfast all day. They're doing all of that to compete with the Qdobas and the Chipotle and the Mod Pizza. They want to stay in business because Kmart, have you shopped at Kmart lately? Did Kmart change to stay in business? No. Do you want to stay in business? Absolutely. So I love that. And she did a fantastic job talking about that's what business is about. And Orrin Woodward is the master because he wants us all to win. And so whenever something comes about or changes, it's because he analyzes the data relentlessly and he wants to make the data show result. So there's never any other reason that a change comes. It's to get your business to make the desired result. And he is the ultimate one who sees all data, right? Believe it or not, he probably knows your data better than you. That should scare you a little bit, but anyway, so I'm super excited about tonight because that's the whole goal, is to just really say, okay, when we do a CD listening contest, I can't say all of you because I don't know, but you all are participating. You all are saying, I love this, I love that. It's clear we're sitting in this smoking hot room because we love being a part of this. Absolutely. And we want to know how to share this with other people. And I can think of no better person than Mark to say, do this. So tonight is the do this talk, like do this. I don't care what CD you go back to, do this, okay? All right, so we're going to kind of roll with it, and that's the whole intent, is to give you a roadmap. And, you know, I'm a homeschool mom. When in the summer, the chores, I mean, it's like disaster strikes in my house because nobody has a roadmap. When school is in session, there's a time to get up, there's a time to do this, there's a time to do that. And it's like clockwork. And everything stays great. In the summer, it's like, what happened? What tornado blew through here? And everybody's all off doing whatever. It's summer vacation. That's awesome. But there's something to be said about following the roadmap and knowing what to do next. And you all are nodding your heads. And so that's what tonight's about.
Awesome. So if we look at a few things before we kind of get, because I know, you know, we promoted this, is I really want to spend some time on showing the plan and what you need, what you as the individual can do. It's a simple process to show anybody that you want to show, but there are some things that we want to kind of clear the air a little bit on to make sure that, okay, well, up until we get to the plan, what are some of the things that we need to make sure that we're focusing on? And obviously contacting is one of those things, right? And so, you know, you want to make sure that you're using the script that you see on Vital Behaviors, or the script that you see in the textbook, or the script that you see on the website. In other words, our best material is the Vital Behavior CD and the How to Get Started pack. You know, if you want a framework, the Contacting Own It CD that is in your first marketing system, or that you can get on LifeStream. Those are the framework, along with the Life textbook, that are going to help you understand and know how to contact correctly.
Absolutely. So Mark Militello, can I ask you a question? Do you send out the video?
I do not send out the video. Okay, now here's and I'm glad that she mentioned the video. The video, what we found is that the video is a good way to screen people, right? It's a good way to gauge interest. It's a good way, if you're here in Livonia, Michigan, and you just made a contact on LinkedIn that's in Grand Haven. Do you want to drive however many hours that is to get out to the west side of the state, or would you want to shoot a video and gauge interest? You'd want to gauge interest, right? So screening, that's a great way to use it. But I'm thinking that you probably are in the same boat that I am. What's the best chance that we have to sponsor somebody? Face-to-face, okay? So the videos, use them for screening if you so choose to. And here's the other thing. For some of us, you know, some of it, if it's working for you, if the video's helping you screen people and get in front of them, great, keep using it. If it's not, then you go directly back to the contacting that we go back to.
So based upon don't falter back to the video because it's easy. Mark, do you use the video?
I do not.
Okay, great. So on contacting, another great tool for another great contact Mark got from Oren is what day this week can you get free for coffee? I have something I want to show you. That's it. What day this week can you get free for coffee? Or maybe we'd say iced tea, yogurt. Coffee sounds awful right now because I'm already sweating. But what day this week can you get free to grab a soda? I have something I want to show you. And then you would go right back to the contacting script. What is it? You go right back to the framework. Do not veer from that. Okay? Go right back to the contacting script. Use that as your invitation and go right to the contacting script. If you don't know what that is, we have a textbook. It's on your website. Somebody in your support team probably has one with them tonight. The Vital Behavior CD, Contacting Own It, goes through all of it. But you can sub in that part if that's super simple. The other thing, what about texting? If you normally text the person, text them. If you don't, call them. I know in the younger generations, texting is part of their lives. We know this. If you have children, you know this. That still cannot transfer the feeling. Your voice can. But if that's the mode that people communicate, use it. Pat, what day this week can you get free for coffee? I have something I want to show you. Send. Right? That can work. 2, or pick up the phone and call them. That gets results. That gets people. And that's what we want, right? We know, I love what Mark says. When we're uncomfortable, what do? We default to what's comfortable, what's easy. But we want to default to what gets what? Results. Okay.
And that last comment is the key component, right? Because let's be honest, is it easier to text out a contact or is it easier to call? It's easier to text for sure, right? But you're not looking for what's easy. You're looking for what you feel is going to get the best results. That's why we wouldn't completely ditch texting, because some of you have a texting relationship with somebody. When she was saying that the 20-somethings, goodness gracious, when I look at the breakdown on our cell phone bill, my 15-year-old daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, they might talk on the phone for 3.5 minutes for a whole month. And I know that I've talked with some of you that if you call somebody in that generation, they won't answer. But if you text them, they answer right away, which kind of bugs me. But you know what I'm saying? It's just part of that generation, and that's okay. You know, just like we said when I was a kid, I told my dad, you just don't understand our generation. And now I'm on the other end of that going, I don't understand that. But hey, just know texting's okay, but just make sure you think it's going to get you your best results, not just because you're chicken.
Oh, I know, because that's why we're here, right? We want to get results. We want to be on the camping trip, or we want to get out of debt, or we want to be able to travel and have no job, or whatever it is we're in here for. Isn't that what we want? Then let's do what gets us that result. And together we all can get our courage from each other, right? And from the amazing story of Juan Cantu. How many of you loved Juan Cantu? So awesome, right? What a great story. Juan's been around for a very long time, and he is kicking butt. So, okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to model showing the plan. Now, I can tell you that I am biased. I know I'm married to him, but he annoys me, like I annoy him. It's not perfect, okay? But he's phenomenal at showing the plan, right? Phenomenal. And so he is going to sit down and model how to do it. So if you're in the back, I don't know, you might want to stand up. We're going to go through step by step of what he does. And then when we're done, I'm going to ask him some questions about why he did what he did and what were you thinking and how was that? So we can take apart what he did and then so we can walk out of here and you can do that too, because he gets results and this gets results. And so let's get everybody getting results, right? Okay, so I can think of nobody better than him, and I'll turn it over to him now.
Awesome. So I'm going to have Todd Ashworth come up. Todd, I'm going to show the plan to Todd. Now, let me give you a couple of quick things here. Typically, we're going to do this for simplicity, but typically what I would really like to have happen is I'd like to have Todd and Shannon and Christine and I, if there's a couple, right? And so I want to make sure that we preface how we would show the plan. I had a gentleman text me today, I think he's watching online, that, he had showed the plan twice, and then he came back in the follow-through, and the people were super interested, and he booked another follow-through because now he needs to show the wife the plan. So he's got an extra meeting in there. So if you're a couple and you're showing a couple, then try to get both of them to be there. If you're a single showing a couple, then find somebody in your support team to go with you, if possible. Okay, I'm going to show Todd the plan as he's a guy I know, right, or just got to know. He will be what we call a warm contact, and so I'm just going to show that to him. But I want to make sure that we're all on the same page on how you make sure you get the best results. Does that make sense? All right, fantastic. So Todd, if you want to grab that seat over there. All right, fantastic. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to sit here for 45 minutes and do the whole thing, but what I'm going to do is go through each piece of it. I'm going to number each piece of it. I'm going to model each piece of it. And I want you to know I'm not trying to be the teacher here. I'm going off of what I've learned through the system and what I just went over with Orrin, because I laid out everything. This is what I'm going to show him. What do you think? And so he's like, he liked it. And I said, okay, well, if you like it, then I'll do it, because I don't ever want to be the answer. I just want to be part of the system. But I know with where we're at right now, I'm thinking if I could show you a really simple way to show the plan that has nothing to do with how good you are, would you be interested in seeing that? Okay, so that's what we're going to do, all right? And so the first piece of the puzzle, as we sit down and talk, and Jason, just let me know if we need to move over so we can see the camera. We're good? Okay, so this is going to be a little awkward because we're going to pass the mic back and forth, and that might not happen in a Starbucks, or it might. You just never know, right? Me neither. And so here's step number one. If you want to take notes on this, because I'm gonna give you a 5-step process, and all of it's easy. None of it is difficult. I'm gonna reference some tools you can use to get better at any one of these spots. And I know that really, in all honesty, you can mess them all up but one of them, and I'll tell you exactly what that is. But the first step should be something that you recognize and know, and that's off of the Checkpoint Race CD. You're not going to see anything different than what you see on there, except I'll show you how we use our information. But what's the first step, class, of showing the plan? Make a friend. Okay, so if I'm sitting here with Todd, we'll kind of mock this up. Now remember, I've just met Todd. So I'm sitting in a coffee. I meet him at his house, preferably. That's preferably to meet him at his house. If not, we meet at a neutral place, whatever. But again, best results, his house, because it's tough for him not to be at his house, right? Although it has happened to me before. So we're sitting down. I don't know Todd other than the fact, let's kind of set the story here. He's a manager, a store manager at a store that I frequent a lot. We got to talking. I'm in there all the time. Maybe a rental car place. I rent a lot of cars because I travel. So he's in the rental car place. I get talking to him. I make the contact. How do I make the contact? Well, in all honesty, if I've gotten to know him, just like Christine said, man, when do you have, what night this week do you have free? We can have coffee. I'd love to show you something. I have something I think you'd be really interested in. So now he's sitting down. He knows nothing else other than that, right? Except that he's sitting down and I'm going to show him something. And that's important. Don't say, hey, what night do you have free this week for coffee? Why do you not want to say that? Because this is not a smoke and mirrors, guys. They need to know you want to show them something. We're not some funky pyramid thing coming through town where we just kind of get together with people and then spring it on them. That's not what we do. We're a business. We're business people. We're businessmen. We're business women, and we do it the right way. And so Todd knows he's coming to see something. So I'm going to kind of role play for a little bit, and then we'll pause and we'll kind of go to that next step. All right. If we've got recording devices going on right now, I've got the recording on the Zoom going, so that way you don't have to hold it up, and we'll figure out how to get that out there. All right, so I'm going to kind of role play the first step, and then we'll kind of move on from there. All right. So Todd, I got a chance to meet you at the at Budget Rent-A-Car. I know I'm super excited to get a chance to talk with you about something I think you're going to be truly interested in, but I really, I don't know you all that well. So, are you from the Brighton area?
No, originally from the Lansing area. Just moved to Brighton for work.
Okay, so from the Lansing area, did you grow up there? Are you a State fan?
Not at all.
Okay, so you qualify for this business. That's really cool. So you grew up in Lansing. How did you get started in doing what you're doing with Budget Rent-A-Car? I mean, you're fantastic at it. There's no doubt. But how did you get started?
I got hired in as just a regular employee, and I was a hard worker and just got promoted, and eventually I got my own store.
Fantastic. So you've got your own store. So obviously you're kind of a go-getter. Is it okay? Are you okay if I just take a few notes here? Is that good? Fantastic. So I at this point, I'm drawing a circle on a piece of paper. And I've just written the word go-getter in there. Okay. And I've written the word motivated. And he's watching me do this. He sees those things. Notice those are qualities. Those are qualities that make him who he is. So I got a couple of those kind of going on and say, so obviously you're a go-getter, you're motivated, Todd. So what are your interests? What do you do outside of work? Because you can't, maybe. Do you sleep at Budget Rent-A-Car? Because you seem to be there every time I'm there. Okay, well, there you go. So tell me, what are some of the interests that you have outside of what you do?
I love to hunt and fish. I'm an outdoorsman. Love to camp. Love to travel. Love sports. Love to go to sporting events.
Oh, sports. So which one? What's your favorite sporting event to go to?
Definitely college football, and I'm a big University of Michigan fan, so absolutely go blue.
Listen, audience, this is not classroom participation. So you love college football. Do you go often? I mean, do you get a chance to hunt, to fish, to go to the sporting events and things like this?
And not as much as I'd like, the job keeps me pretty busy.
Fantastic. So it's fair to say that if you could go to more Michigan games, you would. If you could fish, you do more. Is there a certain type of fishing that you like to do, or any kind of fish?
Fly fishing is probably my preference.
Okay, fly fishing. I'm going to pause here because I can go all day. I can go all day long on just asking questions, but I'm going to reference a book. It's called The Great Connection. And The Great Connection taught me who I am not a small talker. I'm terrible at small talk. Taught me how to small talk. But here's what you really need to know. You can read that book and it's going to verify everything I'm doing right here. All I was looking for was what a term called signposts. Some of you are very good at this. I can ask questions all day long, but I want you to notice the types of questions that I asked, right? When you walk in, the best thing you can do when you sit down with somebody is pretend like the whole reason you're there is to get to know them. Okay? Because I promise you, in your head, you're going to have to fight that, because what you're thinking in your head is the whole reason you're here is to show them a business plan. That's not why you're here. You're here to get to know that person. If you go to a graduation party, you're not going to sit down and try to get them to do something. You're going to sit down. It's somebody you don't know. You're just going to ask questions. So just keep asking questions. Ask questions about their career. Ask questions about their interests. The interest question's fantastic just because it always gets things they like to do. And what do we know about the things that people like to do? They're typically not doing them as much as they want to. So I'm just going to keep asking questions. That, number one, is make a friend. And I'm going to go down that rabbit hole as long as it takes. I don't care if I'm sitting there for 50 minutes. I got on U of M. You know where I would go? I'd be talking. I'll talk all day long about U of M. And you might be thinking, well, I don't know anything about U of M. That's okay. I looked for something that was relatable, that I knew about. And then now I have something in common with him, right? I don't hunt or fish. So I asked him a little bit about hunting or fishing, but I would focus on U of M because I know a little bit about that. Is that fair to say? So you just got to find a common interest, something that they like, that you know a little bit about. You don't even have to like it. You just need to know a little bit about it so that you can go back and forth and talk about it, right? Now, understand, this can switch up a little bit if you know the person, right? You're not going to ask your buddy, what are your interests, right? I mean, you're just going to catch up. So then it's different. you're not making a friend, you're renewing a friendship. You're just asking questions. So what you been doing? You know, how are the kids? All that kind of stuff, right? So it can vary, but in this case, I didn't know Todd very well. So I'm going to ask him some questions. I'm going to get to know him, and I'm writing it all down in a circle, right? And now I'm going to pause here. I probably developed this a little bit more, but just in the questions I asked, and believe me, he didn't even know he was coming up here. All I told him to do is answer the questions. There's no motive, no nothing, just answer the questions. Just that quickly, by the questions I asked him, I know he likes to hunt, fish, camp, travel, and he loves sporting events, and he loves the U of M. And he knows that his job's getting in the way of him doing what he wants to do. Guess what? I found my need. Now, I could develop this more, and I could ask more questions about it and things like that, but I don't really necessarily have to, right? I don't want you to get caught up on this, because I sometimes think, man, if I go in too deep and it's not, listen, you'll just get better at this. You can cover it up with the first night pack, and I'm going to explain that in a second. But you know what? The top 5 books, The Great Connection, I read those, and then I just applied them. And I apply them. I try to apply them everywhere I go. So you just do the same thing. Is it worth applying this information to make 15 grand a month? Well, for a few of you, I guess, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal, right? So making a friend and finding a need. Now notice I have it all in the circle, and I'm going to tell you why I have it in the circle. Number 1, I don't want to forget. Number 2, I want him to know that I'm paying attention. And number 3, I just crafted the dream circle in which I'm going to continue to go back to. Okay? So if I had more time to go through the make a friend and find a need piece, I'll tell you what, I would go down the rabbit hole of University of Michigan and how expensive the tickets are and how you got to take a Saturday afternoon off, and I would just hit that, just developing that need more and more and more. Right? Is this helping, I hope? Okay, absolutely. And so now you've got the make a friend, number 1. You've got the find a need, number 2. I've drawn the circle on a piece of paper, and I've kind of written this out. And then here's the magic question. Todd, here's the thing. You know, I gotten a chance to know you a little bit. You know, you and I have U of M in common, and I know, like, with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, like, next year would be a pretty fired up year to be attending a lot of Michigan games, and you know you've talked about how you want to do that. You're a great people person. You know, you told me that your job's holding you back, which means you don't love your job. You might kind of like your job. And so, you know, if there was a way to get season tickets to U of M, if there was a way to hunt and fish more, and maybe, I mean, I don't know how much you like your job, but maybe just get it right out of the way. Would that be something that you'd be interested in? Like, you would like to do those things?
Absolutely.
True phlegmatic answer. Okay. Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. I want to ask you a question, and I don't mean for this to offend by any means, but you would love to do those things. Do you have a plan, or what's your plan to be able to do that stuff?
I really don't have a plan at all. You know, I kind of go to bed at night, think about that kind of stuff, but you know, I've thought about business ownership, but it's expensive to get started, and really just at a loss right now for anything. You
know, why I say that is because I answered the exact same way. I didn't have a plan either. In fact, I didn't even put that much in the circle when they talked, because I was quieter than you were. You know, all I could think of was getting debt free. And when somebody asked me what my plan was, I didn't have a plan. I guess it was just a negative inheritance for my kids. And so I totally understand. And I'm super excited about what we've got, because here's the thing. What I'm going to show you is going to get you everything in that circle. But what I want to make sure you understand is what I'm going to show you, in all actuality, I'm not going to show you. This information in here is going to show you. But I want to make a point, because a lot of times when I show people this, they you know, is this a job? No, it's not a job. Is this a business where you got to spend a lot of time? No, it's not a business. It actually can be showed in a really simple concept, and it's called ESBI. And, you know, ESBI, he's going to talk about that in here. But really, you know, as employees, we trade time for money. And because we do that, we're usually short on one or the other. That's why you can't go to more Michigan games, because it's a time or money thing, right? Just like I couldn't play more golf, right? So that kind of traps us as an employee. So a lot of people try to move to being what we call an S business owner. You just mentioned it. Business ownership is expensive. But business ownership is also very time consuming. I work with a lot of people who are business owners, and they spend 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing what they're doing. And so they still have to trade time for money. What Kiyosaki says is there's a way in which to get away from that. There's a way in which to, rather than spend your time, just kind of invest your time. right? And when you invest your time, you can create something that pays you over and over. He calls it passive income, right? He gives a great example in the book. And then I would go on to explain Watertown, and then I'm done, right? So you go back and forth and you trade time for money, right? Like the bucket carrier would, like I explained the bucket carrier, and then what a B-type business owner is. A B-type business owner, the only thing they are different is their information is different. That's it. What they realize is, I'll solve the problem one time, I'll just build a pipeline, and once I build a pipeline, now that's doing the work for me. That's what we're in the business of doing, is teaching that. So I wanted you to kind of know that we're not talking about another job or career. A lot of times here's where I handle all the objections. A lot of times, the biggest reason for people not going after what they want is they don't have the time or they don't have the money to do something different. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. And I knew my teachers were holding back information they should have shared with me. For sure. I might have been one of your teachers, bro. But so knowing that, I can't wait for you to listen to what's in this box. See, I could show you what this is, but in all honesty, I can't do as good of a job as what you're going to see in this box, because the information in here, the 2 CDs, I cannot wait. You told me you had kids. I cannot wait for you to hear. There's a CD in here by Rob Robson that's going to go into detail of a little bit of what we talked about, but really kind of explain what it is we do. And he tells a really funny story on some of the memories that he has with his kids. Wait till you hear that. It's pretty funny, because these CDs are entertaining. And so I want you to make sure you put that one in your CD player as soon as you get into your car, because that story I know you're going to identify with. And then the second CD is by a couple. He's an auto mechanic, and she was a daycare provider, and they've done, that income disclosure statement that I put in here that will be in here talks about the incomes that you can make. And here's the thing. The thing is that couple, as an auto mechanic and as a daycare provider, created a lifestyle of 6 figures a month. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And then I just take out the income disclosure and kind of show what's available, and then kind of tuck it back into the pack. So here's the thing, man. You listen to those 2 CDs, and at the very least, there's a question and answer in the back of the book. Okay? You're going to absolutely love that. You're going to absolutely love that, because it's going to you probably have questions already. I haven't shared much with you, but that's going to help you answer it. Okay, guys, that's number 4, right? Or number 3, start the process was the SBI. So you start the process with the SBI. And number 4, promote the material. How long did it take me to show the plan? 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, right, Mike? Whatever you want, that's a good question. Whatever floats your boat. Sometimes I'll print it off. Sometimes it's just something that we're supposed to show when we show the plan. So make sure that you have one with you. And so once I start the process with the SBI. Why? Because it just proves, it helps me handle the objections right away. What are most people sitting across from me doing? I don't have time or money to do something different. Notice how it breaks through those 2 objections, and also notice how the most important thing it does is it explains, like, dude, I'm not hiring you for another job. I don't want you to start a couple $100,000 business. I'm going to show you a different way that you don't know about. That's the most important piece. Promoting the material. Why did I promote the material? I've listened to those first 2 CDs many times. You should too. All you got to do is pull a story out of each one of those CDs on why they want to listen to it, rather than just say, hey, here's the first night pack, make sure you listen to them. You've got to give them a reason to want to listen to that material, okay? And so once I've started the process, which is just showing them the SBI to show them they're going to see something different, then number 4 is I promote the material like crazy. And I would I would even say more about this material than I did right there, okay? And then last but not least, here's the most important part, okay? And that's booking the follow-through. You can screw up steps 1 through 4 and still win this game. If you were in Southfield, I could literally tell Todd, dude, I'm so excited about what this is all about. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to listen to this, and then you and I are going to get back together. I really could mess everything up. As long as I get this in their hands and I book a follow-through meeting, I got a shot, don't I? Does that mean that you should screw the first 4 up? We want results. So we want to do the best that we can through that process. We want to make a friend. We want to find a need. We want to make sure that once we do those 2 things, that we start the process. After we start the process, we want to make sure that we promote the material. And then we're going to book a meeting from a meeting. This is the scary part.
At least it must be, because I see people struggle with it all the time, and I struggled with it for a year. I can't tell you how many follow-throughs I booked. Like, hey, Todd, so you listen to this and give me a call. I just lost $27. Todd, you just go ahead and listen to this. I'll give you a call or I'll shoot you a text in a few days. I just lost $27. And I can go over and over again the easy ways to not book a follow-through. Okay? So here's the most important piece. Todd, we talked a lot about, I cannot wait for you to hear more about this type business. But what I want you to know is the only reason I even show it to you is because it's going to get you what's in this circle. You and I agreed we didn't have a plan. This is a plan. And I want you to listen to this because they're going to do a way better job than I can to explain this plan. But the thing that resonated with me most is that I didn't have a plan, and they were offering one. And I thought, what is it going to hurt to listen to a couple of CDs and read a book and get back together with this person? So I'm going to give you this material. I'm loaning this to you. Okay. It's an investment I'm making in you. And I'll only ask just a couple of things. Number one, do you promise me that you'll listen to those 2 CDs and at least read that question and answer?
For sure.
Okay, I ask that. I ask for the promise because it's tough to go back on a promise, because I know how I am. And if I promise to listen to it, I'm going to listen to it. Okay, and then once I get the promise, once he says, yeah, I'll absolutely listen to it, I say, great. The CDs are relatively short. If you're a reader, you whip through the book, but at least get to the question and answer. And then what does your schedule look like? Today's Monday. What does your schedule look like Wednesday?
Wednesday, I think I get off like at 5:30.
5:30. I got a slot, and I'll be in your areas right around 6:30, 7 o'clock. Does that work for you? I can come back. We can have an intelligent conversation about what you listen to. Because here's the thing: I can't promise you anything. I think you'll be a great fit, but I want to make sure you see what I see.
Absolutely, that'll work.
Fantastic. So, honestly, buddy, that's it. Like, you promise you listen to those. We got that all on. You're going to absolutely love them. If you listen to them and you want to talk about them, you've got my phone number, give me a call. But I'm going to be I never miss a meeting. I'm going to be at your house on Wednesday at 6:30, and we're going to talk about what you saw here. And man, I can't wait for you to listen to this, because here's the thing. The thing that I loved about this opportunity was it was the only time someone ever sat down with me and showed me a plan. So I think we're going to work together. I really do. So you go ahead and listen to material. We'll get back together in a couple of days. I'll see you Wednesday at 7:30. Awesome. Fantastic. All right. So real quickly, Christine, I know is going to ask some questions, because I appreciate this lady, because I know sometimes I can kind of run through some things, and I want to give her an opportunity to ask any of those questions, but I want to make sure that you saw the recap. Okay. Can you sit down with somebody and have a conversation with somebody? Can you then just show them something simple? If you don't like ESBI, just show them something else. Show them something to start the process. Can you do that? Isn't it awesome to know that you don't have to show much of the plan, that you don't have to have the stats, that you don't have to do how a great job like Chris did, that all you have to do is get the process started, promote the material, and book the meeting. I'm telling you guys, I'm having more fun now than I ever have showing the plan. Because for me, it's not an issue of whether I know the answers. I know the answers. It's an issue of making sure that I'm duplicatable and that I'm doing it in a way in which I know that new guy is going to look at this and go, I can do that. I can do that all day long.
Awesome. Great job, honey. That was great. Okay, I want to go back to step number 1, which is make a friend. And I noticed something which you are so good at is when Mark talked to Todd, he did not go into, fishing. I just went fishing. I love fishing. Fishing's so great. I just caught a bass fish. It was this big. He did not do that. The only words that came out of Mark's mouth were questions. Did you catch that? That is so huge. So you like that? Great. What do you like? What sports do you like? What are your interests? This, and this. What do you like? He didn't say, I like that too. I like fishing and I go fishing. There's a time for that. But the make a friend part, you are searching for a what? A need. And if you're telling your stories and all the stuff you do and what you like and where you go and what your family does, you're not digging for gold for the need. That is magic. He is so good at that. So that's one thing I want. So you mentioned some tools for the Make a Friend. Right connection?
Oh. Thanks, buddy. Top 5 books. You haven't if you're brand new, then talk with the person you're working with on which one of those books to grab first. But you know where the best place to apply the top 5 books is when you show the plan. And you might think, well, that's Captain Obvious. It's surprising how many people don't apply it to when they're showing the plan. So top 5 books, Checkpoint Race, okay, which is in the apprenticeship pack, and The Great Connection are fantastic tools to work on those first 2 pieces.
Okay, awesome. Something else, you kept digging until you found a need. So all your questions were geared to get to know the person and to find out if this person had a need in his or her life. So when you hit that, what is your thought process? Okay, so Todd said, I love those things, but I don't have time. So help us understand, when you hear that, what goes on in your head? What do you do now that you found something that this could help the person?
In my head, the whole point is that I'm getting to know that person, and I'm funneling it down just to find some reason why they might want to do something different. Understand, this is not like fishing in a lake with one fish. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, because everybody is miserable these days. You just got to hit the high points, the jobs, the relationship. So all I'm thinking is I'm going to ask questions until I find what I can relate with him about, and what he would possibly want to do this for. Like, that's all I really care about, right? Not because I don't care about him, but because this box doesn't do anything for people that have everything they want. It only has something for people that don't have a plan to get what it is that they do want. So as soon as I key in on a need, then I start asking questions about that need to kind of clarify it. Just to, so, you said you don't have enough time, and I would just say, well, you work a lot, and I just keep asking questions. All I'm trying to do is find out what they might possibly need in order to do something different. And you know what? It's a ton of fun, because you just keep asking questions, and you'll find that need eventually.
Okay, awesome. And once you find the need, you said the magic thing to find out is, do they have a plan? Because you are going to meet people who do have a plan. Yeah, absolutely. I have a plan, and da-da-da-da-da. Great. You can still help their plan. Most people don't have a plan. Would you agree? Okay. All right. So
one quick thing on there. Notice how I said I don't mean to offend. I stuck that in for you, clerics, because clerics can be pretty direct. And so sometimes if you don't soften that blow a little bit, then you say, Jason, got a plan there, bro? Bet you don't. I'm serious. Like, it's just not, because that's a question you're asking, and you know what the answer is, which sometimes can be, offensive if you don't. So if you're a cleric especially, you might want to kind of sugarcoat that a little bit. Okay? So that's why I stuck that in there.
Okay. So step number 3 is, now you have a friend, because it's important that you have a friend because they trust you. They know that you're genuinely interested. And now you found something that life could help them with, and now you are ready to start the process. So step number 3 again was start the process. So I loved that. Now, why do you show ESBI? Why is that what you choose to show? What do you think that does for the prospect? Why that part?
The ESBI is the best way to show them that what they're doing is not getting them where they want to go in a really nice way. And it's also the one way to show how we're not a job and we're not another business. So we take the time and money objection and we just throw it out. Okay. And so I know that there's a couple of new things coming in that arena for the ESBI piece that's going to help that situation. But I'll tell you what, I'll show that all day long, and I get agreement from 90% of people. And I didn't do anything magic, guys. How many times have you seen ESBI, for goodness sakes? Like, just repeat what your best speaker says on stage. Write it down. When you go to Tuesday, sit down and find out how they cover ESBI and write it down if that's what you need to do, except if it's a speaker like, that goes 25 minutes. Because we're going to do ESBI in how long? Minute or two. Real quick, I'm just trying to explain. But to me, that does the best way. Somebody asked me, why don't you show team approach? I don't want to show anything that states anything about our business, because these guys do a better job than I can in 5 minutes. That's the reason. I know that team approach is done better on this than I can do. But what ESBI does is it whets their appetite to help say, hey, yeah, okay, yeah, or so it's different. So I'm going to see something different than I've ever seen before. Which, what does that lead to? It leads to them wanting to listen to it.
That's brilliant. And team approach is super difficult to show, I think. You get in all kinds of rabbit trails and holes, and how do I get out? And that doesn't make sense, and then they're confused. You all are nodding your head. So let's just agree we're going to stop showing that and get them to the open where it'll show them. Because I get in a pickle every time I do that. So I think we're all in agreement. That was an awesome thing. That was worth coming here tonight just to get that. Okay, number 4 is promote the material. Now, I noticed you did not open the box. Normally, would you open the box? Absolutely. Open the box, show it to them, go to the back of the book. Here's the question and answers right here, so that you don't, like Chris said, clearly you didn't read the book, right? You're just trying to cut off any time that you can. So I think that's awesome. Okay, and then book a follow through. Last one. Okay, this I think is a really big deal. So can you go over some of the words you use to help people keep the appointment, book the appointment, solidify that appointment? First of all, we know it's difficult. Get your calendar out. The first time you do it is tough, because people are going to wiggle around. Well, I'm busy. I don't know. I need to check my calendar. It's at home. I don't know. I need to talk to my wife. I'm not sure what my work schedule is. How can they get around all of that and leave that meeting with something booked?
Get the promise first. Get the commitment that they'll listen to the material. That's the first thing. If you don't get that, then they have no reason to really want to do it soon. So get the commitment. You promise to listen to this. That's a very important promise. I mean, you don't understand. I'm giving you my language that I use. You take what we're using here, and if you like, do I have your commitment better than promise, then that's fine. I just like promise because it's something that states like you're going to do this, right? It's a nice way of saying you better listen to this stuff, right? Isn't it a nice way to do that? And so you get that first, and then and I could have all the leaders come up here. Like I could have Chris and Kristen and Mike and Tanya and Tim and Peggy, and I could have them come up here, and you know what? They would say the same thing. By a raise of hands, guys, Nicole Burchard's a cab leader in here too. How many of you have had a hard time where people are like, well, all the excuses that you have heard before? We've all had that. Here's the thing. It took me way too long to figure out how to get around that. So let me go and teach you exactly what Orrin has taught me. And that is that Christine said a couple of key things. I'll pull out my phone. If I use a digital calendar, I'll pull out my paper calendar. So right away, we're going to match our calendars up. So, okay, let's, your schedule, what's your schedule on Wednesday? And sometimes they're not as easy as Tower says, well, I get off work at 5:30. So, I got some busy things going on that night, or, okay, well, what night this week are you not busy is a phrase I use all the time. What night this week are you not busy? Well, and then there's still sometimes the him and hawing. Anybody ever deal with that? Well, I got this, but here's a good one. I need to check with my wife, right? Well, that's the reason you want the wife there, but that's a good one. I don't know where they learn these excuses, but they're really good at them. And so no matter what it is, wherever it is they're going, I'll just say, okay, so it sounds like maybe Thursday will work. And they'll say, yeah. And I said, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to put it in my calendar, and if you don't call me, I'm going to be at your house at 7:30. Okay? So I'm putting it in pencil. I don't miss a meeting. I'll be here. If you need to change it, at least we have something in the calendar and we can change it. But here's the thing. I know and you know if we don't put something in the calendar, we're just going to get busy. So Thursday at 7:30 is a great time for me. It sounds like it's a good time for you. I'm putting it in the calendar. Unless you call me, don't text me. Because if you text me, I might not answer. Call me, if you need to change it, and we'll come up with a different time. Otherwise, I cannot wait to see you. And I have a sneaking suspicion you're not going to want to have another time because you're going to love this information.
That's brilliant right there, because it's super easy to text someone and cancel. It's much harder to own up to it and call them or to change the time. I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but he just took that off the table, didn't he? Don't text me because I might miss it, but call me and we'll reschedule. That's brilliant right there. Okay, so last question. Someone asked, how do you recommend you show up to show the plan? Like, why is that important about showing the plan?
We've all heard the different dress for success and all of that type of stuff, right? Like, you got one shot with this person, especially if it's like Todd, I don't know this person really well. So your best shot with that person is that you come looking successful. And that doesn't mean that you got to be dressed in the best suit or anything like that. But what it does mean is there's a fine line between dressing successful and also being relatable. Is that fair to say? So I'll tell you what I do and what Oren has always taught me. If I'm going to a Tuesday or a seminar, like a pregame event, I'm in a suit and tie. That's just how I roll, because it's a professional event, and that's what Oren has taught me. If I go to a house plan and I'm a speaker, I'm in a suit and tie, right? If it's a smaller house plan, I might lose the jacket or lose the tie to be a little bit more relatable because it's a smaller crowd. If I'm at a one-on-one, I almost always go to a one-on-one in a shirt and a jacket. Okay? Why? Because it's not as dressed down as just a shirt, right? But it's just a step up. Now, for some of you guys, hey, lose the jacket and maybe wear the tie. Okay? That piece of the puzzle with a one-on-one, here's what you don't want to do. That's probably an easier way to answer it. Don't come in jeans and a t-shirt. If you're running $1 million business, then look like you're running $1 million business. Okay? If you're running a $10 business, then feel free to show up in shirt and in jeans and a t-shirt. Okay? And I'm talking about showing the plan. You can come to these any way you want if you're not a speaker. That's up to you, whatever you want to represent. Okay? But add a plan. If you're going to go show somebody the plan, that at the very least, put on a polo and khaki so that you look like you're there professionally. Does that make sense? Okay? I just like to wear a jacket or a shirt and tie because, in all honesty, I want the odds stacked in my deck. That's the bottom line. I can't stand wearing a tie. I hate it. Ask Christine. Within 30 seconds of getting home, I'll be out of this suit and in sweats or in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. Within 30 seconds, I say hi to the kids on my way walking upstairs. I can't stand wearing a suit. But I'm not stupid. I know what a suit says about you, whether I like it or not. And so you've got to figure out what you want to do. But at the very least, if you want to be successful when you go show the plan, at the very least, go with that khakis and a shirt.
Okay, and for ladies, our wardrobes are much bigger, much more. There's a lot more facets to a woman's wardrobe than a man, let's be honest, right? But I will tell you, when I got started in business, I was a high school teacher, and I wore teacher clothes to the open. I might wear, what I'd wear to work as a teacher. You can imagine, visualize your high school teacher, what she wore to work. That's what I wear. And somebody gave me some suits as a hand-me-down. Pantsuit with a jacket and outfits with a jacket. Nothing about me changed. Mark wasn't on board with the business. I was nothing in the business. Nothing. No different. I walked into the open dressed in that outfit. And people came up to me and asked me directions. Excuse me, do you know where this is? Oh, you must know the answer to this. Nothing changed. I looked like a businesswoman, and people immediately treated me differently. I was wearing hand-me-down clothes. No one's telling you what to wear, but I'm telling you that happened. It was dramatic, and it taught me a very valuable lesson. I looked like a business owner, and people treated me like that. And so for a woman, pants, I always wear 3 pieces. If I wear this, I would have a sweater or something over it. but I usually wear a jacket. I often wear skirts. I'm comfortable in skirts. That's me. You don't have to wear skirts. My husband likes skirts. I wear them. That's the truth. He likes it, so I do. You don't have to, but just remember how you look when you're showing the plan. People respond to that, and I lived it firsthand. Okay, and so you decide how you want, but I do think that is very important. Look at the leading ladies. What are they wearing? They're doing that because that's what a business owner does, right? And so Goodwill, Lindsay Spiewak has been putting stuff out on social media of her Goodwill outfits. Like just teaching people, you can go to Goodwill and look sharp and a business person for $5. And so nobody's saying you got to go spend money. But for $5 at Goodwill, you know, she's showing outfits that she's buying, shoes, jewelry, everything, and maybe spending $7 at the most. I know we have men in here who have purchased suits. Tony Beatty's raising his hand at Goodwill. He might be wearing one. He is. This is a Goodwill suit. He looks like $1 million. Tony is 100% debt-free, zero debt, no mortgage, $90,000 paid off, bought a car with cash. It was like a Yukon, a few years old, bought it with cash, $96,000 in debt paid off, zero debt in his life, and he's wearing a suit that he bought at Goodwill. You too can have that kind of result.
Absolutely. So let's kind of wrap it up. Number one, I hope what today did is there's no more muddy water. If you just get out there and you get this information into people's hands, you'll grow through the rest of those steps just out there doing this, right? The only reason I was able to share any of that is because I read the top 5 books because I wasn't getting where I wanted to go, so I wanted better results. So, you know, I look at our lifestyle now and I just think to myself, you know, I read books. I hungered to the next plan I showed would be a better one than the last one that I showed. I messed all of this up. I was terrible at it, but you have one thing that I didn't. You have the best first night information that I've ever seen in this industry. Okay? And so what that means for you and for me, not for us, is that every one-on-one I show, I want them listening to this material. And then I'm going to get back together. And that's where you would bring the closer in. You heard the word closer? Listen, you just go mess this up, get the information in their hand, and be strong on the follow-through, and then bring in your big gun. Or bring in somebody that you think might help you answer the questions if that's what you need to do. Okay? And so that's so important. The most important part about tonight wasn't to try to impress as much as it was I just want you to know, like, you could just sit down with them, have coffee, talk about whatever they want to talk about, and say, oh, yeah, we were supposed to talk about a business. I want you to listen to this. I'm going to tell you why I want you to listen to this. What does your schedule look like on Wednesday? Do you promise to listen to it? Yep, I promise to listen to it. Great, let's get back together. If you want to do it that way, do it that way. You still got a 10-time better shot than anything you ever write on a piece of paper. I had a lady that I did a follow-through with the other night, and she hadn't listened to the CDs. And I said, well, when can you listen to them? And she said, well, I can probably make time in the next couple of days. Great. Let's rebook it. There's nothing I can tell her that this won't do a better job. I refuse to be my own lid. I believe in this information more than anything. Why? Because it's duplicatable. Why? Because any one of you in here can use this material and be just as good as anyone else, and you level the playing field. All you have to do is make sure that you get the information in their hands and you book a solid follow-through. Work on those 2 steps, and that's it. Everything else you'll learn along the way. That's how easy what we do has become. And believe me, I look at this and I think to myself how many times I showed an hour-and-a-half plan, 2-hour plan, how often I sweated on the way in, how often I sat in my car nervous because am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to do the right thing? Do I need to show this? Do I need to show that? My goodness gracious. I've done it a million times. I just wish somebody would have done what they did tonight and just say, stop trying to be the magic and just give them this, and here's exactly how to do it. I know, guys, that the revolution is on the cult. We're on the precipice of an amazing explosion. Why do I know that? If you were on that call, you heard from some people that have been in here a long time and are brand new that stepped up big time this month. And you know what? That's all it takes. That's all it takes. Your dreams and goals are totally worth it. You know it and I know it. All you have to do is get a little bit of courage and make sure that this information gets in their hands. And if you're sitting out there or you're sitting somewhere on the other side of the country and you're like, man, I wish I would have had this when I showed the plan, I'd call every single person that you've ever called in your entire career if they haven't listened to this first night pack, and it's time to show them the plan again the right way. All right, so I'll tell you what, Chris and Kristen knocked it out of the park. Mike and Tanya knocked it out of the park. You guys knocked it out of the park because you stayed here in 102 heat index, and I appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, we're going to have Moline, Illinois is going to be fantastic. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to get there. I cannot wait to hang out as an organization, as a group. But don't wait for the major to implement what you got. Implement it tomorrow. Let's get out there and have an absolutely, absolutely amazing rest of the month.